Yes. Wala. Wala. 3, 2, 1.
Is this what they wanted? Yes. Chat.
Is it?
Huh?
Yeah, so you said the chat.
All right. Hi. All right. It's 6 o'clock. Are we ready? Well, welcome everyone. It's our first knit along, our first real designer collaborating knit along in the Beehive. In the past, we've always done these digital only through Ravelry and things like that. So this is really exciting to get folks in the shop actually knitting for once. We don't do it nearly often enough. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are meeting today on the unceded territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, known today as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, and it is on their land that we play, sleep, gather, and stitch. My name is Julia Huggett. I'm the owner of the Beehive. I'm of mixed Anglo origin, settler of some generations, and it's my privilege to be the caretaker of my family's historic yarn shop. This has been in my family for 25 years, but we've been part of Victoria's fiber community for 119 years this year. And yes, 119 years, and this is our first knit along. Wow. We are very excited to collaborate with Summer Aramaki with designs by Summer for the opportunity to bring this community together. Since this is our first knit along and our first online live streamed event, of which there are actually people tuning in, I have a couple caveats. The first is your patience, as Summer and I are barely used to presenting in front of real people, let alone multiple screens and real people. So bear with us. If you have any feedback for us about this event, about communications that happened before, things that are happening after, please do let us know. We want to do this again, and we want to make it better each time. For those in the room, while I have a booming speaker voice, Summer is quite soft-spoken. So while she's responding to questions, if we could try to be quiet so that the folks who are listening via microphone can hear her answers, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. And I think that's it. Without any further ado, I'll let Summer introduce herself.
Hi, thank you so much for coming today. My name is Summer, and this is going to be my first in-person and online event that we're going to be doing. And I'm very excited. Thank you so much for coming.
So, Summer, you actually work with us at the Beehive.
Yes.
So Summer is actually, for those of you who have been in the Beehive, Summer usually works weekends, and you balance your busy UVic schedule. You're a student as well, and then you design in your part-time. So we at the Beehive have the privilege of every weekend when you come in, maybe every second weekend, once a month, you come in with a new garment that you either knit or designed at some point in the previous couple weeks, and we all kind of just stare agog at you. And when the Shiro design came out, the fact that it was perfectly timed. It was a summer T-shirt with lots of different fiber options, and we just absolutely fell in love with the timeless piece. So we thought, why not? Do you want to tell us a little bit about where the design, the Shiro design, came from?
Yes. So I've been designing very minimalistic, simple designs that are really wearable. And I knew that this year, I haven't done much summer designing in the past years, but then I knew that this year I wanted to do this. And yeah, it turned out to be just minimalistic. You can wear it anywhere, anytime, that kind of t-shirt. And yeah.
Perfect. So some of us in the room are already casting on. If you haven't already, we invite you to do so. Of course, the trick is with any cast on party that really the knitting and the casting on is not really why we're here. We're here to gather, kind of scoop everyone's yarn choices, needle choices, size options, what kind of fit are we going for. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And for those who are watching us live, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat or leave a comment, and we'll respond to them as they go. I'm interested, looking around the table, how many fiber options? Some, I can see 2 or 3 options when people have done it in the hempathy, which is the one that's actually behind me here, more of a, there we go. And then I see lots of mohair and things too, and some wool,
the
some
merino.
cotton. Oh yes, the merino. Oh, gorgeous. Yes, I know these are all really nice. Of the what? How many Shiros have you knit?
Oh my goodness. This would be my 4th or 5th sample.
Your 5th sample.
So I've already done like 3 or 4.
And when you design the tee,
Yes.
do you design one and then like pull back as you're doing it? Do you design one and then go like you knit the whole thing and then make adjustments? How does that actual like nitty gritty process go?
Before I finish the first one sample, I try to make it as perfect as possible, and then moving on to another one, just because I don't want to. I don't know. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist.
A little bit of a perfectionist.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks. I think that's every designer. I don't think there's non-perfectionist designers out there. And did you make, were there any significant changes with the design versus like from when you first conceptualized it versus, the finished pattern that you published?
I would say not really. I think with this pattern, I had like the exact vision in mind when I started, and it just came to life. It just turned out to be as exactly as I wanted.
Is that typical? Is that often? How does this? I can't imagine.
It isn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen all the time. But I find the successful designs that I call successful designs tend to be that way, because I have a specific vision in mind and I'm trying to achieve that. Whereas when I don't have that vision in mind, I'll have to like explore a little bit to make it perfect. And it's not always the same process, but I think that's the fun part also, because sometimes you find that like sometimes it's better to do explore, because that's oftentimes that I don't know, like
You find something creative in the design, or like there's problem solving,
yeah.
but you didn't find that in the Shiro. It all just came together.
Yeah.
That's nice. Had you designed a saddle shoulder garment before?
Yes. Before Shiro, right?
Oh yes, you're right. Yes.
Yeah. I had one sweater design with the saddle shoulder, which is my snowdrop sweater,
Mm-hmm.
and I really loved that construction, and I wanted to use that part of the design and to make it into a t-shirt.
Yeah. It's just, you don't see the saddle shoulder design very often with, as far as I'm sure they'll be proven wrong by a number of Ravelry results, but in terms of summer garments, it's more typical raglan and stuff. So it's really nice to see it. Gave such a nice shape to the shoulder.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you have a favorite yarn? I mean, you've done this in like mohair and hemp blends and silk. Do you have a favorite fiber that you enjoy working with generally?
I would say I really enjoy working with fingering weight, lace weight, a little bit more on the thinner side. It takes time, but I feel like there's more flexibility when it comes to designing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially in Victoria, it's so warm here. Oftentimes those big woolly garments, they don't get worn as often as the little ones.
That is true.
Also, it's worth noting, if anyone's watching me on camera, I am not casting on. I'm making a ribbed hat because I can't count and talk at the same time. I know my limitations, so I chose safe knitting instead of
Fact that you're knitting at home.
I'm just waiting for someone to be like, that is not a neckline. Shiro turtleneck, maybe.
Would you be able to wear it though?
I don't think so. Perfect. This is nice. Interesting to see all the needles and everything too.
Yeah.
It's one thing that you guys are missing on the online chat is getting to watch all the hands move and all the colors being formed. Next time we'll have to have like a multi-camera situation Although
Is the camera just on
the
you?
camera's on us.
Okay.
Yes, we are
I was
the.
just wondering.
No, yes, we are the central.
Good.
Do you want me to angle this around? Yes, my marketing.
No.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay.
So you said you talked before about successful patterns. What makes a pattern successful in your eyes?
Great question. I think with simple words, it's a successful pattern when I love it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
think so.
if I when I wear it like very often, that usually means that I really like that garment. I think.
I think that's a very common thing in many wardrobes. We all have 10,000 sweaters, and there's always the two that we keep on
Yeah,
reaching for every
exactly.
time, even though it may have super pilly under the arms. We just keep reaching for it. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And did you design this shirt with any specific skill level in mind?
I always try to be beginner friendly
Mhm.
with all the patterns that I make. But I would say, I guess not necessarily like this, like beginner or intermediate or anything.
Yeah.
Um,
I find that your patterns tend to be a good mix of like, they're not complicated construction or anything, but there's certain design techniques, for example, Italian knitted cast-ons,
Yeah.
or tubular cast-ons or whatever you want to call them, that folks might find a bit more challenging right from the get-go, but the end result is that you get this really finished thing.
Yeah, one thing I don't do in the patterns is to like opt out a specific technique just because it's not easy, not for anything. I think there's always the right technique to use for a specific like look. Like for example, this one, you could do just knit one, purl one, just a normal ribbing, but I really like the look of like finesse look of the knit through back loop, the half twisted ribbing. So I decided to go with that. Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Please.
Of course.
I'm a loose knitter, so in order to get your attention, I needed to use a 3mm needle. Should I cast on with a 3mm? No, because I'm just casting on with it, and I'm thinking, oh, it looks really small. Or should I cast on looser?
So the question was, if you're a loose knitter and you've changed your needle to get gauge for the from the
Body.
pattern, do you change it for the ribbing as well? And the answer would be yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I should keep it that small then. Okay.
Yeah. So if you adjust down the main pattern needle, you'll want to adjust down your ribbing needle as well to follow suit.
I just want to be sure. It
Absolutely.
was just looking so small, and I thought, well, maybe there might be.
Like,
Might not get over my head.
that's true. Yes. No, but yeah, everything. Yeah, it's all relative.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and especially with different fibers, one person, like what you've cast on in plant fiber might not be the same needle that you cast on with if you're working in a mohair, because that will tension differently on your needles. Or even if you cast on a mohair with wood needles versus cotton with metal needles, we've got super sticky fiber on a super sticky needle versus super slippery fiber on a super slippery needle. Those gauges could be wildly different for the same knitter, which is why, that's why swatching with your preferred pattern needle is always important. Best case scenario. Although we are not outing anyone for not swatching at this table today. It is a safe place.
I would have really liked to have used this, which is what I got for it,
Mhm.
which is the same as what you have on me in another color. But because of my knitting, I just couldn't get it to look close like that. But maybe I should have tried it with the 3mm, which I gave up on. So it might have worked.
What do you mean you're worried about not getting it with your knitting?
Sorry.
That's fine.
So I did it with the 3.75, and then I did it with the 3.5, and see how loose it is?
Oh, yeah.
That's 3.75, that's 3.5.
Yes, yeah, I see what you mean.
So if I'd gone to 3, I don't think it would have made any difference, like
right.
my arthritis or whatever. So,
And the heat
but I
too.
wish I could have done that, but I don't think I could.
I mean, you could do it. You may just be moving down that needle size,
Yeah.
and if you're a loose knitter, that's totally normal for you to make that.
Yeah,
That's,
maybe I should try it again.
you would not be the only person with more than one Shiro if that was the case. I believe we have multiple Beehive employees walking around with multiple Shiros. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's so pretty.
Yeah.
So pretty in that
And it's a
yarn.
very different shirt. Like it's a completely different
Yeah,
shirt depending
very,
on
very pretty.
what fabric or what fiber you chose. Yes, I won't lie. The Beehive staff had a lot of fun scrolling through the purchases that were made with the discount code so that we could see what everyone was using. And I would say I was surprised how many people for the time of year chose to knit it all in mohair. People
It's so
clearly,
pretty. I
it
would
is
have
so
loved it.
pretty.
Yeah.
Yes, clearly people with air conditioning, as you will not be knitting that on like the hot summer patio with mohair, or at least I wouldn't anyway. That's my personal preference.
In Victoria, it's still sweater weather. It's still cool outside.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
that's
cool
true.
to have the confidence to.
Yes, we are in January. January returned. What kind of things are for when if someone's thinking about substituting a yarn? Is there anything that they might want to think about if they're diving into their stash for this project?
Depends on the look for sure. If you wanna achieve the look of the Hempathy sample that I have, like this one, yeah, I think all plant fibers are great. The mohair version too. Oh, for the mohair version though, I would use something that has some wool content. When you're knitting with only just one strand of lace weight, it is really, really hard to control. I'd say you barely have control when you're doing that. Yeah, so it's helpful if it has some wool content. Also, when you wash it, it fluffs up a little bit. So, yeah, as you can see, it's not like too light. Like it's not too light, but
Yeah, people always say they always get concerned about, oh, it's see-through. But it's actually when you're wearing it, it doesn't. Like you're wearing a little white cami and I can actually barely see the cami through the fabric, even though it is quite an open weave. Yeah. Shiro Tee is a project. So someone's asking us about doing this as a beginner project. The Shiro Tee is, we wouldn't have a class specifically for doing the Shiro Tee. This would be a great option if someone wanted to do intermediate projects or advanced projects, which is an open class. So you would choose your own project and you sit with a teacher to guide you through each step. So this would be a great one for that if they'd like to do it. And the other thing too is you can always download the CAP pattern, cast on, make mistakes, and then come down to our free project help session. And we'll help you figure out what went wrong and how to get through it. What's your favorite part of the design process?
in Shiro or just in general?
In general. Although if you have specific design or with Shiro, I'm curious.
I think I enjoy the most when I am knitting it actually, rather than, well, I do lots of sketch too, initially to, finalize my vision and then jump into knitting. Yeah, but I think I just love knitting. I like to, move my hands, and that's what I enjoy.
I mean, it would be very strange if I asked a designer what their favorite process, a part of the knit designing process, and they were like, getting really technical language down on paper. That's the best part versus actually knitting the thing. In hindsight, that makes total sense. Yes. Being super specific with my measurements for sizing. No one's favorite part, perhaps. What's the most challenging part?
The challenging part, I would say articulating it just right, and like to balance out the information on like you don't want to put too much information that it's just so like chaotic that you can't read in the pattern. But
Yeah.
also you want to have just enough information to guide you through the pattern. So I think that's probably
That is really hard. It is. Even when we're doing like, even I'm doing, this is like our bottom up toque pattern, which is the simplest possible thing to design. And even then there's like, how much information is too much information is still an easy question. Does anyone have any questions about the pattern as they cast on, or any, if you've read through the instructions, any clarifying points, or a bunch of happy knitters happening so far, which is a good sign. No one's jumping up and going, what is this cast on information? If there were huge problems at this point, we might be in trouble.
I think it's a sign.
I think it's a good sign too. Is there a design technique that you return to again and again across multiple garments? Like it's something that you just love in every design?
When it comes to that, I feel like it's all about like the color and like the finishing part. And like, for example, like if it's a cardigan, it's the bottom band, like double knitting. There are, I'd say I really like double knitting.
You do a lot of double knitting for your pockets and stuff,
Yeah.
for your button bands. Yeah. I mean, it's,
And I made the gloves with the double knitting band around, which I really liked. Yeah.
do you like it more for the finishing or for like the longevity of the fabric?
both? Yeah.
That was a trick question.
I know that. Yeah, but I think that's another thing that I also think about when I design. Like, I like it to be visually appealing, but also wearable and just last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's worth the time, especially when you're working in fingering weight. It's a lot of knitting to
yeah.
do that you want to make sure it lasts.
Yeah.
Which actually is a great segue to this question that I have on our screen here,
Oh.
which is about someone who has a fingering weight merino silk, and they're wondering if that would be a good option for this this piece.
Merino.
Now, I would say that I have a caveat to this: is it a non-superwash merino or a superwash merino might make all the difference for whether or not this is a suitable yarn for your pattern.
You definitely want to make a swatch before you dive into the pattern.
Yeah.
But I don't think superwash is the best choice.
Yeah.
Because you don't want something that's too heavy that kind of sags this part of the saddle shoulder. Yeah, you don't want it too heavy because.
Yeah. So superwash yarns. When in doubt, I can always go on a tangent about yarn construction. Superwash versus non-superwash yarns. Most say sock yarns are commercially available. Lots of commercially available hand dyes even are superwash, and they'll always say so on the label. And the biggest difference between those and a non-superwash yarn, a superwash is processed such that all the like scales, all the sticky stuff on wool is removed, which means it's nice and soft and smooth. It means that it won't felt when you wash it. But on the flip side, it also means that there's no memory. It doesn't have anything to grip to. And so with this particular construction, because you have you have this band and then you have the weight that's going to pull here, you might find that superwash is going to make everything slick and it'll stretch through the shoulder. So there's two things that you want to swatch for. One is, do I like the fabric? I've knitted up on the needle. I've gotten how many stitches it says in the pattern. Do I like the feel of this? And then the second thing is this like a structurally sound fabric? Which are sometimes those are two different things. And sometimes you might really like it and it might be worth knitting, even knowing that, okay, I might wear this for 2 seasons and then it might not be able to be worn. And that's just a decision that folks have to make. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question about from Mary Ellen about German short rows. What is a German short row? What are you trying to achieve by knitting them?
Good question. So German short rows, I mean, it doesn't have to be German short rows necessarily, but basically what you're doing, what you're trying to do by doing the short rows is to raise the back yoke. Because, your body is not
Square?
a square, yeah. Your body is not square. It's not box shaped. So you have to have some length in the back and to raise the back yoke.
Yeah, basically it adds a curve to the neck, basically. So that otherwise, if you didn't have those German short rows, it would sit like a box and then you get like a hump on your back. It's true. Yeah. That happens. It's quite common with like old original, like when sweaters were designed in the round, like in 2012, before short rows were really common, you got a lot of humps on the back. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that works for some patterns. That works for some like specific look. If you want some more fabric under here, that usually works. But for this pattern,
you just wanted it to sit nicely, cleanly along the back neck. No problem.
Yeah.
How do you find it difficult to stay organized through the design process? Like, I feel like I would have like 1,000 numbers in my head at all times. Is that?
Yeah.
Am I making that up? Is there more or less math than I'm imagining?
Actually, yeah, like I'd say like 50% of all the designing process is actually just math, which is surprising.
It's not as sexy when you put it that way. Go back to the knitting part. That sounded better than the math part.
Yeah.
It's all just, I guess it's all pattern. It is called a pattern. It makes sense. And you design primarily garments? I guess you do accessories as well. What do you prefer? You've done both.
Yeah. I think I like designing garments. Yeah, but there are times where I have to like make something small because to like cleanse my palate, I guess.
Yes, totally. That makes total sense.
Yeah. You can't just keep eating big meals without having some desserts.
Yeah. How long does it take how long did it take you to design Shiro? Which we've already said is like the perfect pattern, that it just happened really easily for you. Not everyone might be this fast.
For this one, 3 weeks or so.
3 weeks? That is way shorter than I thought you were going to say.
Question: what's a double stitch?
What is a double stitch?
Double stitch is the stitch that's created when you turn the work. So when you're doing the German short row, you turn the work, you pull up the yarn, and to create double stitch, which will be knitted on, which will be worked either purled on the wrong side, knit on the right side, to be raised.
Does that make sense? So it's when you're doing the German short row, at the start of the turn, you lift up that
The working yarn.
The working yarn is your stitch.
Yeah. And you slip that one. You pull up the working yarn to create the double stitch, which will be knitted. But if you need some
would like some hands-on assistance with this double stitch, you can hop up.
Okay, great.
All right, all the focus will be on me now. Me and my ribbing.
Some things are just, it's a little hard to explain with words.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. I want to make sure I'm not losing anything here. Okay, we're good.
Where are you? Well, I just turned. Okay, great. So you want to.
Yes, go for it.
Slip this.
Mhm.
Relax. Okay. Now get off.
Let's do this so we
Pull
can
this
see.
one up.
Oh,
Yeah, like kind of like a yarn over.
okay.
Yeah, and then you want to keep it.
Oh, perfect. That gives you something to sort of around this neck. Okay.
I think that would be perfect.
Oh, my curls.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Like a wrap and turn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, good. Let's see, most folks. Is there anyone that's through the original cast on? I can see the folks are knitting their first rows now. Oh, it's exciting. Folk cast on at home. Got swatches. Oh, cool. What was I gonna ask? We were talking about accessories versus garments and how you. Is there anything that you don't enjoy designing? Anything you've like thought about designing and ended up not pursuing?
I don't think I will make many more patterns of socks.
No sock patterns. Why not the sock pattern?
I think socks are a little bit. There are designers who like kind of specializes in sock making,
Yes.
and I don't think I am the one.
So that's funny because that's something that my stepmom has said through 20 years of yarn shop ownership, which I don't know if I find is true, but she always used to say that there's like sock knitters and then there's everyone else.
Yeah.
And I think, sock knitters do knit other things, but there are only certain people that knit socks, if that makes sense.
Which is funny, and I think that applies to designers too.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess that does make sense. There are like the Holly EOs of the world that are sock centric.
I have one sock patterns, but yeah, I don't think I'm gonna make many more.
Yep.
If I feel like it, I might.
I mean, you are an artist. That is the artist prerogative. If it pops into your head, you can design anything you like.
Yeah.
What is some feedback that you've received from knitters as you've gone through your design process?
Just in general.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything specific with Shiro? Feel free to mention it.
The thing, the one feedback that I always get is that I knit like very fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
So
feedback that she gets is that she knits too fast. So does that mean like the timeline that you give out for testers or might be too fast or?
no, just in general, I think just the speed I knit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Designs. I think, well, I try to make my patterns make sense.
Mhm.
I try to make my patterns as autonomous as possible. Does that make sense?
Autonomous meaning that like
Like-
all the information is in the pattern itself or?
More like, like you have all the control. You're making it rather than taking it in. Like you're the knitter.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't have the word for it. I'll talk about it when it comes to my mind.
It'll come in
Yeah.
your mind. I'm curious now.
Yeah.
And I guess the double stitch.
I'm trying to find the right word.
When I did it before.
Is there any other
I've
question?
done that.
Hmm.
I've sort of done my-
Yes, if anyone has any questions, feel free to have them pop out. Why did you choose? We've had a few questions about short rows and German short rows and techniques. Why did you choose the German short row over something like wrap and turn? This is like
I
a super
find
specific
it-
question.
I find it more seamless.
Yes, so there is because wrap and turn has that gap when you do the turn.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I've tried it before, and oftentimes German short rows turns out just more beautifully, like with,
Yeah,
I
they're
think
more
it's
user friendly. I
seamless.
think they're more user friendly. I've heard that from lots of people that like they hate all short rows except for the German short row, or like they'll just automatically convert it into other patterns into German short rows.
Mhm. Yeah, and I feel like I've only exclusively used that German short row for my Carmen patterns. I think that's for a reason.
If it works, don't fix it. You spoke a little bit about kind of fabric and designing and swatching. Is there any words of advice that you have, or like any reason you design in the fibers that you do, or in the yarns that you choose? Yeah. So you've spoken to me a bit about like accessibility and when people are diving into their stash.
Yeah. In terms of yarn choice, yeah.
Or recommended yarns, I could say.
Recommended yarns. You don't have to use the recommended yarns as long as you hit the gauge. And I think not many knitters or designers or people in general don't really talk about it, but it's rare when all the knitters in the world can afford the same exact yarn to do a design. To do the project. Yeah. And that's okay. You can use whatever you want to use that you can get the gauge with.
So whether or not it's a trendy hand dye or cashmere blend shouldn't make the difference.
Yeah, and I think I try to accommodate that with my pattern. Not all the yarns are suitable, but you have the choice. You don't have to use the same yarn, is what I mean.
Unless you want it to look exactly like your beautiful shirt, in which case
we can match.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
And that's a good point too. I forgot to go full circle here, because you've chosen what a lot of people would look at and just think it's a kid mohair silk blend. But you've very specifically chosen, I'll grab the label here. You very specifically chosen Berenice, and you mentioned that using a mohair blend that has a bit of wool in it. And Berenice is the one that we have at the Beehive that has that. I think it's 20% wool content. Yes, it is 20% wool content. Mm-hmm. For those who might not, I'll talk maybe a little bit more about that. Most of these kind of lace weight brushed yarns are a longer or a core fiber, which is usually either silk or nylon or acrylic. And then they've got the brushed fiber over top. Now, kid mohair is like the downy undercoat of a baby goat. So it's very soft and straight and fluffy. And so when we were talking before about superwash yarns and having memory and stick and structure, kid mohair, even though it's fluffy and it wants to grab onto things, it doesn't have the same structure that wool does. Wool is the only thing that has memory, true memory in it. And so having something with a bit of wool, when you have a little bit of more of a structured, piece that has a bit more shaping in it, is key, because it's going to give you that little bit of stick and structure to it. Not to say that you couldn't use a pure kid mohair silk, but I don't think it would keep the shape in the shoulder or the sleeve as well as the Berenice does.
Yeah, I have tried with just a regular silk mohair with no wool content. Just a little warning. It's really, really hard to control.
It's so slippery.
And you're knitting it with only one strand. So, yeah, if you're not...
It's Shiro Tee hard mode. It's not easy mode.
Maybe not for your first sample, but, you can try with another yarn. If you like the pattern, you could try making another one. in the mohair. Yeah.
And we're also with someone who's wearing, I'm not going to put the camera on her because I know she doesn't want it, who's knit the piece completely off gauge, which is my coworker in the corner. She's knit quite a heavy weight yarn with it, but then the end result is like this really beautiful cohesive fabric. So I mean, you can really color outside the lines as much as you want.
I would call that intentionally off gauge.
Intentionally off gauge,
So
exactly
did you
right.
just throw a smaller size then?
No, I knit size 2, which is what I would have done anyway. It just came out slightly smaller, which worked out for me, actually, because that's what I So my swatch was perfect. But then once you start going and your gauge changes, it wound up slightly smaller. But not too much.
Good job.
Yeah. We're having a discussion here about swatching and gauge and how it's never the same with the swatch. Yeah. Yeah. Most, even like, yeah. Or even like your gauge can change like how your circumference in knitting. So lots and lots of times people's sleeves are tighter than their garment of their sweater because you just automatically knit tighter on the sleeve. I know things that we don't share publicly that are the secrets of knitting. All our sleeves are off gauge.
Oh, on that note, I have one thing to mention.
Yes, go for it.
This pattern, except for the very first part of the German short row, it's in the round, which I think many of us like.
Yes. No one.
Yeah, and it's I think easier to get the same gauge throughout the garment. So.
What do you mean by except for the very first part? It's in the round to begin with, isn't it?
When you're working the short rows, you'll be working flat. So you cast on in the round and then you work flat on the back panel a little
back
bit.
and forth.
Yeah,
I understand
exactly.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't panic, everyone. I saw where your mind was going. And I was like, wait. Yeah, so you're still in the round. You're just working flat back and forth for that shaping part. Yeah. Are the sleeves are seamed as well?
No seam.
No seaming. Oh, very nice.
Yeah, you have to pick up some stitches at the underarms, and you just keep going.
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah. And
My initial thought when I started designing was to make it in the round because that's why I like it. And I think I talked about it with Michelle when I started designing this, but I think the true saddle shoulder construction tend to be knitted in pieces and then picked up stitches here. And I think that's one way of doing it, but I just like it in the round.
is there a benefit to having to the traditional saddle shoulder? That's kind of an open question. I don't know the answer to that. I guess it would provide more structural stability, I suppose, in the traditional pick-up stitch method.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got such a lightweight, it's not even a full-length sleeve.
Yeah.
You don't have the weight that might require that level of construction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. And also, I think that works with all of the oversized look, whereas this one is not so oversized, so I don't have to do it piece by piece. Yeah,
That makes sense. It's also just nice to finish your project and be able to wear it right away.
Yeah.
Not have to go through the seaming and the
no seaming.
no seaming. Yes, I think I've seen a few tees worn, no blocking, no nothing, no end sewn in. Just off the needle, get worn to the shop.
Okay, I need to count. I should have done it.
Counting break. I knew not.
I normally do.
I cast on way too many.
Yes.
I
I just have a question here. Is the sweater available to purchase at the Beehive? So all the materials are available to purchase, the patterns available to purchase, but the knitter is responsible for making their very own sweater. You just have the materials and the know-how.
You can learn to knit.
Yes. How many extra stitches have you had on?
Like 20.
Just got into the flow.
I just kept going.
I get that. I find that too. I was just like, when I tune out and like just cast on in front of the TV, I either massively underestimate or massively overestimate how many stitches I've cast on. I'm never in the ballpark. So going back to baby designer, Summer,
Baby designers, yes.
where did the desire just to design start?
I really enjoy making something from scratch. And yeah, when I started, I knew how to knit. I had all these, ideas of garments that I want to make, that I want to wear. So I was like, why not just make it?
Yeah. And is it true that some of your original designs were drafted off of your own clothes?
Yes. Yeah. That cardigan.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I had this cardigan that I wore in high school. I think I wore it like more than 5 years, and I put it in the wash accidentally, and it shrunk. Obviously, I was like, I'm gonna make another one with my hands, and that turned out to be the cappuccino cardigan, which is my design.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was cappuccino. Did it also have a saddle shoulder? No, am I crazy? I'm making that up.
No, I don't think.
No, that's just that something. I'm making that up.
just when you have time.
And has anything changed, like your perception of why you're designing, or that keeps you going back from that original? Like, what keeps you going now that you're? Because how many designs do you have? 5, 6, 7, 8?
Designs?
Yeah.
I think I've got close to 20 or something.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Crazy.
I don't keep count, honestly.
Are they all on Ravelry?
They are.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got some of my recent makes over there displayed. So if you're, check it out.
Is that cardigan
There
there?
is a cardigan,
You
I
had on the
think.
other day?
Yes.
So cute.
Yes. For those who are here in the building, Summer has a little trunk show of her designs that we all get to ogle after. Now, Summer, can I put you on the spot? More so than I'm already doing by putting multiple cameras on you in this very moment. My question is, so we've had a couple questions about the German short rows and the double stitch.
Yeah.
My question is, do you think if I angled this camera, could you show folks what you're talking about when we talk about lifting that stitch?
Oh, sure. Let me get to that stage then, because I just finished counting.
Sorry. Yes, we talked about whether or not Summer knitting and mohair was a good idea for videotaping her hands. We'll find out whether or not that was a good idea.
Probably not.
Probably not, but we'll make it work. We've got an expert camera person here. Is there anyone for whom this is their first garment? Or do we have all? No, we're all semi-experienced garmenters in this room. That's exciting. That's too bad though. There's no one. I think probably it'd be a little bit nerve-wracking to cast on your very first garment in a group of people. I'd rather do this in the depths of my apartment at home. No one can watch me. No one can watch me pull out and scream.
Oh, no.
You can always use mine if you want, because it's to that point if you wanted a different yarn.
Oh, she's offering her needles too, if you like. because she's at that point.
Sure.
I just thought it was easier for
you.
the description.
All right, so I'm gonna like finagle
Which
one
side?
screen and two screen.
So
I've already did the second.
which is the BOR?
What's the
Beginning-
beginning?
Oh, the
The pink
is
one?
the beginning.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Pink. One, two. Okay. Yeah, I got it now. Yeah. So got to the point where you turn your work. Turn the work. This is the wrong side, and then you want to pass the switch. Slip the stitch.
Slip the stitch, yeah.
And then, wait, is this a better way?
There's no easy way to do it.
Yeah. And then you pull out. Not pull out. You pull. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. It might be interesting to show them like how I knit.
Yeah.
Because everybody knits differently, you know? Sorry. I knit continental.
Yes. One more slight difference there.
Yeah. Might have not been the best demonstration ever, but there are lots of YouTube videos.
Yeah, that's
And-
lovely.
Get this back to you. Thank you.
Oh, hello again.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll leave this part.
Thank you.
It's your AV person. What stitch markers are you using?
These ones.
Right ones.
Cocoa. Yeah. I like these.
Just realized I don't have a beginning and round marker on my hat. Well, I guess I don't. I don't need one until I've got a tail. That's all that matters. Like, when did this fall off? How long have I been knitting for? That's fine. Are there any pet peeves you have when you're knitting from another designer's design? I know, no names. Like when you're reading a pattern. Okay, my pet peeve is lace instructions that are only written out and not charted. That's my pet peeve. But, you know, that's a personal one. Are there any like design any techniques that you see that you're like, ugh, I wish they didn't use that technique, or I'm gonna automatically sub that out with one of my own? I'm really putting you on the hot seat now. This is where like we'll hear it in the comments.
I try to find the intention of the technique that's used in the pattern.
It's a very diplomatic answer.
But when the intention is not there, I feel like, why would you do that?
It's a very good answer. That's a very good answer.
So I don't have like a specific technique that, you know, like this I don't like or this I don't like. I don't have that. But yeah, I try to find the intention.
It's a good lesson for me to have. I mean, you might have just made me a better knitter or a better reader of patterns anyway.
Maybe a better listener too.
Exactly, better listener for sure.
Because, you know, like I'm not a perfect designer. Like no one's perfect. And I try to respect all the designers and why they did that like why they did this specific part of the pattern, and I try to respect that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a very thoughtful approach. Do you design in English or Japanese?
I design.
I know. The reason why I'm asking this is that as she was counting, I noticed you were counting in Japanese, which I've
Yeah.
never noticed before.
You know, hey, I can say I can say numbers in English, but just when I'm counting, it's so much easier when I do it in Japanese.
I get it.
Yeah.
So do you design in, because you learn to knit in English, right?
Yes. I learned to knit in English, so I only write patterns in English, which is kind of funny because, believe it or not, Japanese is my first language and English is my second language. But I think I would be terrible at knitting talk if I do it like in Japanese. I can only do knitting talk in English.
Oh, that's funny. It's like my husband says he only speaks menu French. Like you don't speak Japanese, knitting Japanese, only regular Japanese.
Yeah. I wish I was better.
I'm sure you will be.
I'm sure I will be someday. Yeah, I just don't.
Do you knit equally? Do you knit from Japanese patterns? Or mostly in English?
Mostly in English, I think, yeah.
I know.
Also, like, all the Japanese patterns tend to be just charted.
Yes.
It doesn't require any written patterns.
Yes. When Japanese pattern writing became really popular, like 2016, 2017 is when they first came, North America.
Okay.
It was like an issue because people would come to the Beehive with their Japanese patterns and no one would know. And it's very much like you as the knitter have to make all these decisions.
Right.
And we were not prepared. It took some years before we figured out how to properly recommend yarn and everything for them. Yeah, it's very much on the knitter. Perfect. Well, we're drawing close to an hour on our live stream. So I think at this point, I may suggest that if there's any lingering questions from our internet friends, they can ask them now. And otherwise, we may turn videos and return to our friends in the real world. Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for everyone for joining us on our feeds.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Bye. We'll catch you in a couple weeks for an update.